So chili crisp is one of my favorite condiments, and I think this stuff is amazing. I had it for the first time a few years ago. I found it in the grocery store and I bought it and I tried it out and I fell in love with it. But it was a lot more than I was willing to pay for this condiment. So for a while, I've been trying to find a way to make my own version at home, and this is the recipe for that version. So you start off with 4 cups of oil. You can do peanut oil, which is what I have here, but you might choose to do canola oil, corn oil, vegetable oil, olive oil. Any of those would work. The next ingredient you're going to need is garlic. This garlic is from our garden, and I used 5 large heads of garlic. You're going to need a cup of minced garlic. To me, this part is the most tedious part of the recipe because you had to peel and mince all this garlic. If you wanted to make it easier on yourself, you could get one of those containers of pre-peeled garlic, and you can even just put all of this in a food processor, and you'd save yourself probably a lot of time doing that. This recipe makes about 4.5 cups of chili crisp, so it's a very large recipe. You could easily have this recipe if you want. You could double it if you want. The reason I made so much, I figure if I'm gonna make one portion of it, I might as well make a really big one. I have space in my fridge to store it, so I found that easy. Next is a lemongrass, and right now I was just cutting off the bottoms of those lemongrass to see if I can get them to resprout. When you process lemongrass, you have to remember that only part of it is edible in this type of way. You can use the outer leaves or the tops for teas or curries and stuff like that. But when it comes to having it in the chili crisp, you need to get the soft part of the lemongrass. A while back, I made this recipe and I wasn't careful to only use the soft part. I used some of the harder parts too, and I felt like it kind of gave me a stomach ache. So I realized that you have to make sure that you're just using the soft part. So if you can cut through it, reasonably easily with a knife, it's not a very soft thing, so you will have to use some force. But if you realize it's very, very fibrous, that's a sign that you should probably take off an additional layer, or maybe just go more for like the white area and less of the green area. So now that I have that minced up and I have the garlic minced up, I can start the cooking process. So I heat the oil up to medium, and then I put the garlic in, and you'll see that it starts to bubble and boil. And as it's cooking, you're going to make sure that you are constantly stirring it. I bought that strainer just for this recipe because I found like it was the easiest way to strain out the garlic once I needed to later on. So if you notice that it's cooking a little too fast, you can move it off the heat and then bring it back on, allow it to cook a little bit more. You're looking for a golden kind of color. And after you see that, you can start scooping out. You have to put it in a separate container to stop the cooking process. If you leave the garlic in there, it would overcook, it would become bitter. So that's why you have to scoop it out, and you actually have to be, you have to try really hard to like get all those little bits too. It'll just make a better end product. And after you get all those little pieces out, you're still gonna have your hot oil, and then you're gonna add in your lemongrass. The next step, you're going to do the same thing to the lemongrass that you did to the garlic. So you're going to put the lemongrass in. The oil will still be hot from when you cook the garlic. And you're going to do it the same way. You're going to keep stirring it around. You can move it off the heat if you feel like it's cooking too quickly. And you're just going to keep an eye on it. And when it starts to change color a little bit, that's a sign that you're in the right spot. After the lemongrass is finished, you're going to add in the chili flakes, and you're going to use Korean coarsely ground chili flakes and Szechuan chili flakes. I put the pictures in here so you can find them on Amazon if you're interested. You might have a good Asian grocery store you could go to, but this is where I found them. And then next up this is the best stuff. It is a mushroom seasoning, like a bouillon, but mushroom. It's so good. It's just mushroom and I think B12 and salt. It's delicious. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I've bought it a bunch of times. I use it for soups and stews and all sorts of stuff. So after you have those in there, you put the garlic back in and you just let it sit down, marinate together. After this has had some time to sit, marinate, and cool down, I put in the jars to put into the fridge. So I did the math on the price difference. This made about 4.5 cups of chili oil, which would be, I think, 36 ounces. And when you compare that to the jars that I saw in the grocery store, which was $10 for a 7-ounce jar, which would be $50 for this amount of chili oil, I was able to make it for $11. Granted, I used garlic from my garden, so I don't have to pay for that. So if you include that, it would be $15 for all this chili oil. And that turns out to be 1/5 the price of the chili oil that you find at the grocery store. So one of the things that I love about this is you can add it to anything and you've just made yourself an instant meal. The most simple thing you could do is add it to rice, have some sort of a protein, add some vegetables, and it's so good. It's perfection. You can also add it to other things, like you can do it with dumplings, you can put it on your eggs, you can add it to a stir fry, you could put it on avocado toast, roasted veggies, you could put it in soups, on pizza. The possibilities are endless. You can also add additional things, like you can add ginger or onions or sesame seeds or peanuts. This stuff is very versatile and a little bit goes a long way. So I keep this in the fridge. It lasts for a long time, and I wound up giving some of this away to other people too, because this is a lot of chili crisp, and it's one of my favorites, and I hope that you try it and you like it and you get to enjoy this delicious condiment.